pay. It's a simple training course and you can take it as soon as you hit your 14th birthday. Once you've done that, you have to go through at least 11 hours of face-to-face training. You'll then graduate as a Level 7 official, which means you can take charge of county-level games. But hold your horses, there's still a long way to go to get to the Premier League. Your next step is to spend a year each at Levels 6, 5 and 4. This covers the top of the amateur game. Only at Level 3 do you start doing Northern Counties or Isthmian League level games, for example. If you've done this all quickly, you can reach Level 2 and ref your first National League match after, I don't know, 6 years? After getting enough experience at that level, you can apply to be a referee in the EFL. There's an interview, people watching you do games, and then, if the EFL are happy, you'll be granted a Level 1 licence to ref in games in League 2 and above. Now, they don't just say on you go to the Premier League, you have to work your way up through the divisions. Only after years of hard work and refereeing on cold Tuesday nights in Stoke can you be considered to do matches in some of Europe's very best stadiums. Now, who was the youngest to reach the very top? It was actually Michael Oliver. He refed his first Premier League match in 2010 at the tender age of just 25. So if you want to follow in his footsteps, crack on. It'll only take you roughly a decade, thousands of hours of work and an incredibly thick skin. In total, there are 37,000 registered referees across England, but the PGMOL has only deemed 21 good enough for the top flight. That means there's not even a 1 in 1,000 chance you'll even make it in. Obviously, referees can make mistakes, but when you think about it, having a go at them is kind of like slating a brain surgeon.
Good morning, how are we? It's Friday. You're listening to the Early Sports Breakfast with Adrian Flux, insurance for the individual. Find out more at adrianflux.co.uk. I'm Max Scott, building up to talkSPORT Breakfast at 6 a.m. with Big Alan Brazil and Gabby Agbonlahor to talk us through what is on the way over the next hour. It's my mate Sam.
Hello, Max, how you doing?
I'm good, mate. Are you?
Yes, fantastic. Thank you very much. Now we'll be looking at what's next for Alexander Isak, who's made it clear to Newcastle that he wants out, but also have financial rules stifled the Magpies? And should their fans feel angry that they've not been able to splurge their Saudi cash in the same way clubs like Chelsea and Manchester City have? England have the upper hand in their crucial fourth test against India, having skittled through the tail yesterday and ending day 2 on 225 for 2. Great prep for that huge Ashes tour down under later this year, perhaps. And as you'd expect here on talkSPORT, it is a blockbuster weekend of live sport. We've got the Lions' second test against the Wallabies in front of 100,000 fans at the MCG. Let's hope they're not left disappointed, or maybe we should be hoping that they are. Yeah. And the Lionesses chase history, looking to retain their Euros title in Basel. So, of course, we'll be building up to that game as well.
Happy days. Let's get into it then. This is the Early Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT. Yeah, this is the Early Sports Breakfast with Adrian Flux, insurance for the individual. Find out more at adrianflux.co.uk. I mean, as you'd expect, Sam, the back pages are just full. As the Mail put it, Craig Hope broke that story for the Mail, the Isak bombshell. Liverpool ready to pounce after striker tells Toon he wants out.
Yeah, exactly that. Ready when you are. Cop on high alert as star striker Isak tells Toon he wants to move away from St James's Park. It's all over the back pages, isn't it? My Tyne here is done. Like back page of The Sun, as well as Isak eyes exit, back page of The Express, and the one that you flagged on the back page of The Mail, Isak bombshell. And I mean, the papers are just full of this story. Effectively, the what we understand is that he's exploring his options.
I mean, come on,
but basically, exploring your options mean, well, exactly. I mean, what else? What could it possibly else can that mean?
It's like saying to your missus, look, you know, you're great and that, and we've had a good ride, but if there's someone else out there then I'm leaving you.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I mean, who gets left out of a pre-season tour with a minor thigh injury? I mean, you're not going to take him to give him 10 minutes. I mean, for goodness sake, Newcastle not really dealing with the PR side of this particularly well.
I was just going to say, it's been a PR disaster from day one. As soon as Eddie Howe said, we've sent poor Isak home because of all the media attention he's getting, honestly, sat in the stands at Celtic Park. He's a Premier League star at the minute. He's always got media attention, and you send him home because of that. I think that spoke volumes, and now we're seeing the fruits of that unfold.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, actually, because I think, why are you drawing attention to it? I mean, in some ways, you probably could leave him out in a friendly like that, and no one would really notice because it's just a friendly. But actually, what you've just basically said is, we don't want anyone talking about Alexander Isak, so I'm just going to mention him.
Yeah.
You sort of think, well, that's not the way to do it, is it? So I think they've dealt with this whole thing pretty poorly, but also the timing from Isak. I mean, it's pretty poor, isn't it, really, in terms of saying he wants to move now, when he could have done it right at the end of the season, or ideally from Newcastle's point of view, not want to leave at all.
Yeah, but I think as well, in terms of the timing from his perspective, if he does want that move to Liverpool, and we'll talk a little bit later in the show about whether or not actually he's been sort of, his head's been turned by Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And what one thing I will say from the top is this idea that the money that the Saudi Pro League offers is, generational changing, or it can change your family for generations. Do me a favour. The Premier League can give you that life-changing money. The Championship can.
Yeah.
And so I just sort of think, if that is the reason, then it'd be an incredibly sad moment for Premier League football, for the best striker, I think, in the Premier League at the minute, to go over to Saudi Arabia. What an absolute disaster that would be. The reason I'm concerned about that is, why didn't you do it about 5 days earlier, Isak, mate?
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Before, Liverpool has splurged 70 million quid on Hugo Ekitike.
I mean, we don't condone players effectively kicking their toys out the pram, do we? We don't sort of, you say professional till the end, but if you do see that Liverpool are interested and you think, actually, I could do with a bit of that, then you might want to sort of make a bit of a fuss about it when they express an interest.
Yeah.
Because doing it once they've already basically found someone who's your replacement, effectively, or your second, moving on to your second, the alternative transfer target, is not the time to do it. So he's left himself with very, very little room to manoeuvre now, hasn't he, Isak, really, from a Premier League point of view?
He has indeed. And look, I do feel sorry for Newcastle fans, because ultimately I think they've just had, it seems to be the case for so many clubs, they have these great seasons, and you think you're going to kick on. They've just won their first title in about 5,000 years. And then you think, okay, we're in the Champions League, we're going to kick on, we're going to spend a load of money this season. That doesn't happen. Every player that you, apart from Anthony Elanga, that you wanted has gone elsewhere. Even Manchester United, in the sorry state they are. And then your main man wants to go, and you sort of think, crikey, is there ever going to, if there's ever any club in the Premier League right now that is going to break through the so-called Big Six cartel, it's Newcastle, and even they can't keep hold of the main man.
Yeah, and that is a real concern, and I think that's got to be looked at, hasn't it? That, okay, Isak is sort of the tip of the iceberg, as it were, but you're absolutely right, Max. I mean, it's been a transfer window of absolute nightmares for Newcastle fans so far, so I don't know what's going on there, because you'd think that this is a club on the up, and yet it seems like everybody's desperate to get out, or at least not get in.
Yeah.
So that's a massive concern for them. But going back to your point just very quickly about Saudi Arabia, I can't imagine how the Newcastle Saudi owners would be feeling about losing their player to the Saudi League. I mean, that is really
robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah, that's a curious one, that, isn't it? So would they rather sell to what you might call their own, I suppose, in the sense of a country they know very well, or would they rather sell to the Premier League? I mean, ideally neither. But like you say, it's not exactly a great option to have, is it? Either way.
Yeah, and the politics of all that, it's all a little bit confusing, isn't it? But look, we've spoke about how confusing this must be for Newcastle fans, where to apportion the blame, etc. But a man in the know when it comes to this deal is our very own Ben Jacobs. Here's the very latest on what he knows about the Alexander Isak saga.
Alexander Isak is well contracted. He's exploring options. He chose not to go on the pre-season tour. And yet it can also be true that he's got a thigh injury as well. But because the scan came back clear and was a precautionary measure, clearly if Alexander Isak wanted to fly, he could have done. So it's a combination of two things, a minor injury and Isak wanting to explore options, which at face value does point towards an exit, but it's a British transfer record fee exit. It certainly has complications. And from Liverpool's point of view, although it's anticipated that they may make another formal approach, there's a lot of things that have to fall into place, such as outgoings and still agreeing a fee with Newcastle United. And there is a scenario at the other extreme where all of this noise leads Newcastle into changing their perspective and breaking the bank to try and keep Isak on a new deal. And I think that's where we're at, with Liverpool being given encouragement, but at the other extreme, the possibility that Newcastle throw the kitchen sink at Isak to try and keep him.
Ben Jacobs giving us the very latest there. I mean, you've got to look at, just for a moment, you've got to look at Liverpool. Is this up there with one of the, if they can get Alexander Isak, is this up there with one of the greatest transfer windows we've seen in history? I think it was Real Madrid 2009, and they got in Cristiano Ronaldo, Karim Benzema, Kaká, and Xabi Alonso. That is an elite transfer window. But in the modern era here, I mean, well, 2009 still modern era, crikey, but for the Premier League, this would be absolutely incredible. And, you know, it's worth saying talkSPORT understands that Bayern Munich are willing to pay 70 million quid for Luis Diaz. I was speaking to Andy Brassel just a couple of days ago saying that he thinks that'd be a perfect fit for Bayern Munich. They're incredibly keen on that move. If that goes through, they're over halfway to paying this reported £130 million fee. And then if you sell Darwin Núñez off to the Saudis, you would be willing to spend a similar amount as a reported fee. Then you've got Isak through the door and maybe made a couple of million in change. And so it is incredibly concerning. I've got to say, and I don't mean this in any patronising way at all, poor old Newcastle. I mean it from the heart, because I want to see sleeping giants of a club sort of return to their rightful stature and really challenge for a Premier League title. And you felt like Newcastle were just a couple of years away from doing that. And a dreadful summer and this absolute bombshell news about Alexander Isak, I think, has scuppered that. And as I said at the top, I just feel like there is so many avenues for Newcastle fans to be absolutely fuming. First and foremost, and I feel this way, certainly as a Forest fan who's been on the wrong end of PSR, you've got to look at it as a Newcastle fan. It must be infuriating looking back at Chelsea and Manchester City splash the cash to their way to becoming champions and European champions in an age where there was no tight financial regulations. And here you are, Newcastle, arguably the wealthiest club on this beautiful planet, and you can't even spend any of it. You've been restrained by PSR rules, by associated party transaction rules, which were brought in precisely because you were taken over by the Saudis. And so you've got to feel like, as a Newcastle fan, all these other clubs that are now in these positions where they've got all this global revenue because they've bought their way to success, which, by the way, I don't blame them. I think if you've got an ambitious owner, you should be able to spend the money, but all of a sudden, Newcastle can't. I think as well, you've got to be asking questions about the top brass at Newcastle. I mean, Paul Mitchell, the outgoing sporting director, reportedly saying that there was no need for a contract extension or an improved contract for Alexander Isak because at the time he had 3 years left on his deal. Well, look where that's got you. The man feels like he deserves more and he's not been given it, and his head has been turned. And as well, the player himself. He's just made history for Newcastle, become a cult icon. You look at the support and the tifos that the Newcastle faithful have given him, and how's he repaid it? He wants out. He wants gone. And of course I can understand why Liverpool is an attractive option. But if you're a Newcastle fan, just when you thought you could break that ceiling, that glass ceiling, and really challenge for the Premier League title in a couple of years, go big this summer, your dreams have been destroyed, and I feel for Newcastle fans. Get in touch, 03717 223344. Where do you apportion the blame? Is it Isak himself? Is it the top brass? Or are you the victim? Have you been stifled? Have you been hamstrung by those financial regulations that we see, in my opinion, just destroying any ambition from any other club from achieving what they want to achieve? Well, Villa striker Gabi Bonlo, who's going to be on from 6 a.m. with Alan Brazil, he said that actually he thinks Alexander Isak deserves a big move.
Isak has done fantastic at Newcastle. I mean, look at some of his stats. 27 in 42 last season, 62 goals in 109 games altogether for Newcastle. He's better than Newcastle. He is, for me, probably the best, himself and Haaland, best strikers in the world. Isak at 25, he's looking at his career now and thinking, I've got you into the Champions League. I won your first trophy in 70 years. I am better than what Newcastle can offer me. Looked at the transfer window. Only Elanga has been brought in. He knows the money he should be earning. You've got players that are a lot less as good as him. He's a lot better than bigger money. Yeah. So he knows that he's worth £300,000 a week.
Understand what Gabby's saying there about the players being brought in, but equally I think that you've got to look at the club for not doing that, for not going as big as they should have done. This fan, Newcastle fan Jeff called talkSPORT, said the current system doesn't allow clubs like Newcastle to be successful.
I'm just absolutely gutted. Just so good. And I'm so frustrated with it as well, Because, although this isn't directly a PSR thing, as you've already been saying, Gabby was saying earlier, that this is all about PSR reinforcing the levels in football, reinforcing the glass ceilings, and just putting those in concrete and making it so impossible for even a club like ours, like Newcastle, the richest club in the world, all this money that we can't spend. And it's removing the ability of football fans to dream. We all dream there's going to be that perfect season where it goes right, we win the title, everything works, and it's just making that impossible for all of us.
I must say, I totally agree with Jeff, and I've got great sympathy for him. But the next question is, he's obviously going to go. Is he going to stay in the Premier League? Would Liverpool still be his likely destination after they expressed interest before signing Hugo Ekitike? Football finance expert Kieran Maguire told talkSPORT the champions are in a healthy financial position despite splashing the cash this summer.
Liverpool in an incredibly strong position, and the reason for that, Ollie, is twofold. First of all, in terms of the money coming in at Anfield, they now have an expanded stadium, and the new tickets and the new seats that are available are going to the hospitality, going to the corporate fans, and the yield there tends to be very high. They've got the new shirt deal, which comes in on the 1st of August with Adidas. That's going to be a substantial increase. They are incredibly popular with sponsors, and sponsors will have paid bonuses for them winning the Premier League. So all of those are positives in terms of the money coming in. Trent's gone, he was on a very high wage. Quanza's gone, that will be pure profit. So they're actually in a strong position. And then I've got the figures in front of me in terms of spending, and of the big six, or the old school big six, should we say, Liverpool were sixth in the position over the course of the last 3 to 4 years. So they'd actually been keeping their powder dry relatively to the other clubs. They spent £1 billion less than Chelsea during that period.
That's scary news for Liverpool's Premier League rivals, isn't it? Kieran Maguire, football finance expert, telling us they've got plenty of headroom to spend on Alexander Isak. Can you see it? Liverpool fans, Newcastle fans, get in touch. Where do you think he ends up? 03717 223344. Coming up next, we'll take a detailed look at the Friday morning back pages. Good morning, this is the Early Sports Breakfast with Adrian Flux. Get a tailor-made quote for your commercial vehicle. Search Adrian Flux Insurance for the individual. I'm your host, Max Scott, building up to Alan Brazil and Gabby Bonlaw. They're on the way from 6. Remember, download the talkSPORT app to find all our stations, including talkSPORT, talkSPORT 2, Talk Times and Virgin, and you can listen again to our shows and best interviews there too. We've been talking about Alexander Isak, but here are some of your other sporting headlines this morning. England's cricketers will be eyeing up a a big first innings lead on day 3 of the 4th test against India. It's a crucial one at Old Trafford there. They resume on 225 for 2, trailing the tourists by 133 runs. We'll have updates throughout the morning, of course, on talkSPORT with our very own Sam Ellard. Elsewhere, Arsenal have signed defender Christian Mosquera from Valencia in a deal worth at least £13 million. The fee for the Spain under-21 international could rise with performance-related add-ons. He's agreed a 5-year contract and is joining up with his new teammates on their pre-season tour of Asia. And last night saw the first 2 quarter-finals at the PDC World Match Play Darts at Winter Gardens in Blackpool. James Wade narrowly edged past Jan van Veen 16-13, while Johnny Clayton dominated Stephen Bunting, winning 16-17. Here's the winning moment on talkSPORT Darts YouTube channel and talkSPORT 2.
Clayton has 118 points to make the semi-finals for the second time in the World Match Play. Starts on the 18, gets that, gets the 60, match start at tops, and just like that, Johnny Clayton has made the semi-finals at the World Match Play for the second time. And the last time he was in the semi-finals, he went all the way to the championship match. Tonight, he has outclassed Stephen Bunting with the 2 treble visits and some imperious doubling this evening. Clayton wins by 16 legs to 7, and with 50% on the doubles, Laura, you have to say he thoroughly deserves this victory.
Yeah, brilliant stuff in Blackpool. Remember, tonight it's the second quarter-final as Luke Littler takes on Andrew Gilding and Gerwin Price challenges Josh Rock. You can follow all the action on talkSPORT 2 and the talkSPORT Darts YouTube channel, where you can also find exclusive content, including post-match interviews and more. Your texts and calls are flooding in regarding the Alexander Isak situation. Lionesses has texted in saying, I think this shows that Newcastle's owners are part of the problem. They have a league where the rich teams are funded by one entity, so there's no incentive to pay big wages, and PSR is also a little bit of a problem. That's Darren, the Spurs fan. We're going to head to the phone lines now. David's a Newcastle fan. David, how are you feeling about all this? And if there's any sort of, where do you apportion the blame in this situation?
I mean, first of all, great show, guys. I listen to it every morning. Thank you,
mate.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't blame Isak. I mean, at the end of the day, if he wants the big money, he isn't going to get that at Newcastle, is he? And sadly, throughout the years, we've always been sort of an offloading club, and I think it still shows. Any time a player seems to play well as well, Liverpool seems to come in and sign him. Andy Carroll and a couple more names. So I don't know where to point the blame. I mean, you could blame management, you can blame the chairman, you can blame the technical director. At the end of the day, if we still haven't got the ambition to keep our best players, then we don't really deserve to be at the top of English football. Yeah, no, I understand that, David, but you say there about sort of the wages, that you're not paying him the wages. Do you not just think if he wants 300 grand, he's good enough? Give it to him. Well, absolutely. I mean, if we're the richest club in the world, like we say we are, and everyone says we are, then absolutely we should pay him the money. But if a bigger club comes in and tries to sign him, then we can't really answer that. At the end of the day, we shouldn't deserve to keep hold of the player. If he wants to go, no player's bigger than the club. If he doesn't want to sign an extension, that's completely up to the player, I suppose. Yeah, fair enough, David. Great call. Well said. I understand the frustration as well, but I just feel sad for Newcastle because ultimately I think that they're in a position where they should be paying their best players, but they haven't given him the money he wants, and I guess fair play for standing their ground. Right, time now to look at the back pages, and Sam is back with us. What else are the back pages saying, Sam? Well, yeah, I mean, it's obviously all about Alexander Isak, isn't it? And this big news, we will wait and see what happens with his future. I mean, it's for, as a United fan, it's a massive concern about whether he might go to Liverpool. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're not competing in the same stratosphere as them at the moment. Do you know the odds yesterday? Go on. The odds have been going to United with 12-1. I thought that's absolute madness. That is madness, yeah. That is madness. How are United going to find the money to buy Alexander Isak unless they somehow swap all their... Well, who knows what's going on with yeah, I know. Who knows what's going on with United finances, though? I mean, Sir Jim Ratcliffe says they're cashless, but then also they're going to build a £2 billion seat stadium. Yeah, good luck with that as well, by the way. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And they're going to do it because they're going to ask United fans to fund it by paying £4,000 for the pleasure of having a reserved sign on the seat. Back page of the Mail this morning, Mike Keegan, Man United are considering charging fans up to £4,000, as Max has just said, for the right to buy a season ticket at the planned new stadium. Yes, well, United's finances are certainly a topic of conversation, and I'm sure I'll leave that probably details to Simon Jordan, because if I start talking about it, I'll get extremely annoyed. Now, let's talk about some other things that are in the papers this morning. How about this?
Declan Rice insists Noni Madueke is going to shock Arsenal's doubters. The £48 million summer capture of Madueke from Chelsea sparked an outcry online, with more than 5,000 fans signing a hashtag no to Madueke petition. But Gunners star Declan Rice said, let me just find the right page. He said, there's been a lot of talk around this signing. Trust me when I say the boys are really looking forward to it. We know the quality he has. So he's obviously defending Noni Madueke. I mean, I don't know why Arsenal fans would be signing a petition about someone who's about to join their club. I mean, as much as you might not necessarily always be in favour of a signing, haven't you got to trust your manager when Mikel Arteta has proven that, generally speaking, he gets his signings right? But also, you know, it's a bit sort of, it's a bit of a negative attitude to have, isn't it, if you're sort of piping up about a signing that's about to join your club?
It's such poor form, and it's not as if they're signing sort of Luke Chadwick, you know.
Chadwick, Premier League winner.
He's a young English talent, broken into the senior team at times. I think, you know, obviously he's not the finished article, but he can be, and he's surrounded by really good players. Give the man a break, bless him.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and I think he's done all right, isn't he? He's done well for England.
I think he looks
well
like a really good player, mate. I think people have got such high standards. Not everybody's going to be a Bukayo Saka or a Vinicius Jr., but one day he might be, and I just think give him a chance. He's a good player.
He is a very good player, absolutely. Now, also on the back page of The Sun this morning, exclusive by Ken Lawrence, Luke Shaw faces the Man United exit, and the injury-hit star could be gone by January. Left-back Shaw, 30, is aware of serious interest from Saudi clubs and is ready to listen to offers. I mean, some United fans would say it's a wonder he's still there. But
would you say that, Sam?
Yes. Luke Shaw has been stealing a living for about 3 years at United. And don't get me wrong, this is a very, very talented player. A player that, when he's at his best, is a marked improvement. And United's performances over the last couple of seasons have been considerably better when Shaw's in the team. There is no doubt about that. The problem is that Shaw is very rarely in the team. And the problem he has is that, and I feel for him, because ever since he got that horrific broken leg, he has suffered an absolute litany of injuries. He's been injured constantly. But you can't afford, as you well know, Max, in the modern day, to be keeping a player on your books who is permanently on the sidelines. It just doesn't do your club any favours. And unfortunately, even though we love to talk about football as a sport, it is ultimately a business, isn't it?
Yeah, you're not wrong, and you got, like you say, you got to feel sorry for him. There is a good player in there, but he's pretty much made more appearances for England in the past couple of years than he has United. But I did see, interestingly, a clip of him speaking about Ruben Amorim, really fondly saying he is the right man to bring United back to the big time. So maybe there's room for reconciliation if he can stay fit.
I think if he could have a season where he does prove his fitness, then United fans would probably forgive the difficulties of not being able to select him. Because the trouble is, when you know what it's like when you're down in the dumps a little bit about form and one of your better players is constantly unavailable, and then you see them performing for the national team. It does sort of
puts a sour taste in
a bit of sour taste in the mouth, yeah, absolutely. And there's a few other things around the back pages as well. Of course, Lionesses build up all for the weekend. There's plenty of Lions build up as well. You excited for the weekend of sport, Max?
Oh, I can't wait, mate. I had a lovely boozy breakfast last Saturday with Emily. We went away to Hazelmere and watched the Lions. It was great atmosphere. Can't wait for it tomorrow. And of course, history making Lionesses on Sunday evening.
Yeah, exactly that. And of course, more from the cricket as well. Ben Stokes on the back pages after his 5-wicket haul in the first innings at India. That was absolutely magnificent, wasn't it? I mean, Ben Stokes has got to be, one of England's all-time great sportsmen at this point, hasn't he? The amount of times he drags England up by the bootstraps is pretty remarkable, isn't it?
Definitely transcends the sport, and I think it's just a matter of time until he gets that knighthood. Sir Ben Stokes.
Yeah, you can see that one, can't you? Absolutely. Very much so.
Brilliant, Sam. That was a look at this morning's back pages. This is the Early Breakfast on talkSPORT. Up next, we'll ask, what is the nation's favourite second sport?
It's not often you associate fan power with Chelsea Football Club, but one of the shining examples of it lies with a group called the Chelsea Pitch Owners. And they've proved to be the thorn in the side of owners past and present who've been dead set on moving stadiums to a larger, more lucrative piece of land. Essentially, the supporters group holds the freehold to the land on which Stamford Bridge sits. Former owner Ken Bates set it up at a time where some unruly property developers tried to evict the club from their ground. In order to prevent this, he established the CPO as a company that owned the pitch and offered the fans the chance to buy a share for £100. As well as that, they also own the rights to the name Chelsea Football Club, so if any owner wants to take them elsewhere, they can't be called Chelsea without the approval from the CPO. Now, in 2011, Roman Abramovich tried and failed to move them away from Stamford Bridge, and this has set a precedent for Todd Bowley and the current power brokers at Chelsea. They know any plan which involves moving from Stamford Bridge will require CPO approval from the now 13,000 fans who own it. There are fans who are concerned that if they stay at the bridge, they'll be left behind their domestic and European rivals who are moving to more commercially successful stadiums. But for the heritage and history lovers, Stamford Bridge is one of the iconic English stadiums, and to move away would be a grave mistake. It might not be as flashy as others, but stadiums like it have something about them that cannot be replaced. One thing's for sure, if Bowley wants to take Chelsea away from their home, he'll have to go through the CPO first. Good morning, this is Early Sports Breakfast with Adrian Flux, the cover you need at a price you'll love with What Van's Insurer of the Year 2021. Find out more at adrianflux.co.uk. Don't forget you can watch the show and all talkSPORT shows on your smart TV. I'm Max Scott, taking you through until 6 when Alan Brazil and Gabby Agbonlahor will take you through breakfast. Some of the headlines you're waking up to this morning other than Alexander Isak. American businessman Woody Johnson's completed a deal to take over John Textor's shareholding in Crystal Palace. Textor's involvement with French-sided course Lyon led to England's FA Cup winners being demoted from the Europa League due to multi-club ownership rules, though they're appealing that decision. Johnson is a co-owner of American football team the New York Jets. Some good news, I imagine, for lots of Crystal Palace fans there. Hibs have put themselves in decent position in their Europa League qualifier with Midtjylland after securing a 1-1 draw in Denmark. The teams meet for the deciding game at Easter Road next Thursday. Meanwhile, Dundee United will take a narrow 1-0 lead into the second leg of their Conference League qualifier with UNA Strassen. And following the sad passing of WWE legend Hulk Hogan at the age of 71, former commentator Todd Grisham joined talkSPORT Drive to explain what made him so iconic.
You know, he was kind of, at least in my life, kind of like the first superhero come to life. You know, you could watch the Batman movies, the Batman cartoons, the Superman comic books, but this was a guy you could go watch and you could see, and he was always defying the odds. The irresistible force meets the immovable object. I mean, the guy that body slammed Andre the Giant, he could do things that no mortal man could do. And, you know, he always had that positive message, you know, say your prayers and take your vitamins. How could anybody be against those two things? So he was just such a big part of our childhood.
Former WWE commentator Todd Grisham with a really touching tribute, I think, capturing what Hulk Hogan meant for so many wrestling fans, particularly over there in the States. There's loads more reflections and tributes on Hulk Hogan's life throughout the day on talkSPORT. And for more on all the day's biggest stories, of course, visit talksport.com. Right, we're heading straight back to the phone lines where we're getting lots of calls regarding Alexander Isak. Andrew is a Newcastle fan calling all the way from Australia. Andrew, thanks so much for calling in, mate. What do you want to say?
Good morning, gentlemen. Obviously very frustrated about the Alexander Isak situation. I've seen it coming. I think the Premier League saw it coming when the Saudi owners took over. I think they're appeasing the likes of your Liverpools and your Chelseas, your Manchester United, who, ironically, we shouldn't be appeasing because these are the people who wanted to leave the Premier League. I mean, I'll say that again. They wanted to leave the Premier League, went behind their backs to try and open up a Super League. Obviously, that was abandoned because the fans, and I'll say this about Liverpool fans, they were very vocal about it, and I'm really pleased that they did that. Yeah. But at the end of the day, nobody's going to break into that glass ceiling that you've been saying about. And the Premier League don't want them to. They're appeasing these American owners. They're against anybody else coming into the situation to win. They're quite happy for Newcastle to be the 5th and 6th and 7th place, and the odd Champions League. They like the supporters travelling away in the tens of thousands as they do every week. But they really don't want them to win anything.
Why do you think that, Andrew? Why do you think that? Because I know there's that perception amongst fans that, it's the rules suit the bigger clubs or the more established clubs with a lot of money. But why do you think that the Premier League somehow don't want Newcastle to break through that glass ceiling?
Are they frightened of the Liverpools of this world who are then going to say, we cannot compete with the Saudi money, we're going to have a European Super League? They're petrified of that. Right, and I know Liverpool are a bigger brand. I'm in Australia. You'll see more Liverpool shirts walking about the streets where I live, Brisbane and Melbourne and of Sydney, than what you will see Newcastle United. But that's only because we never saw Chelsea shirts walking about anywhere other than Chelsea. And some Chelsea supporters didn't even wear Chelsea shirts until Abramovich came in and poured the money into them. You get success, you sell shirts, you become more successful, and this is what Liverpool have done.
Yeah, Andrew, really interesting take, and I certainly understand your point around Chelsea. They were able to spend the money, you're not. Totally get the frustration, and of course, really interesting about the threat of a Super League, and of course, I think that's something that is going to continue to bubble under the surface. Don't get me wrong. Jimmy is a Liverpool fan. Jimmy, what do you make of all of it? Do you feel that somehow Liverpool's name's been sort of dragged through the mud in this? Or I certainly think they should be celebrated for spending all this money. Fair play to them.
Well, we are being dragged through the mud, and I've just listened very, very carefully. Now, I'm in the position, I've seen Liverpool Football Club be very, very successful for over 50 years, right? And he talks about selling shirts. Liverpool are a global brand. It hasn't happened overnight. Yeah. We're not selling off, hotels and the women's football team. This is being built up. As I said to Sam, Liverpool are a well-run football club. Yeah. Right, since Hicks and Gillette. Right. Now, if we've got the capacity to spend money correctly, by the way, I use the word correctly. If you compare yourselves, Liverpool now with Man United, the way they're getting run over a number of years, we're being sustainable for a number of years now.
I totally agree with you, Jimmy. I don't think that this is any fault of Liverpool. You've been really shrewd with your finances, and if you can spend that money, fair play. It's your prerogative to go for the best players. You're the best team in the country at the minute. But can you understand why Newcastle fans might feel frustrated that there's these financial constraints on them that don't allow them to pay the wages, for example, to keep Isak at their club in the first place?
I honestly, I really can. But to throw, we wanted to leave the Premier League, and they're throwing stones in the wrong direction because we are well run, right? And we've got the global capacity income to spend that money, right? Don't throw stones our way because we're well run. Yeah. And this cartel, the Big Six, honestly, go and look at the Big Six, and then look at them all, and then look at Liverpool.
Yeah. Jimmy, well said. I think it's a really balanced argument, and I agree with you there. I don't think this has necessarily got anything to do with Liverpool. I think it's got something to do with the rules and potentially the way things have been ran right at the very top of Newcastle. Right, we're gonna change tack a little bit. We've got a lot of Isak coming your way this morning, but we're talking about this week on talkSPORT. We're asking you the question: what is the nation's second sport? We know football reigns supreme, especially here at talkSPORT, but what sport is the next best thing, and why? Whether it's boxing, cricket, rugby, darts or MMA, these sports need your vote. If you'd like to join the discussion, just head to the dugout at talksport.com/dugout or via the talkSPORT app. It's been the talk of the office, with some talkSPORT names throwing their weight behind their favourite sports. Here's what Alan Brazil had to say.
A lot of people ask me, Alan Brazil, why do you love horse racing? I go back to when I was a kid at Ipswich Town when we were invited over to Newmarket. Charles St George, who was a big Lloyd's underwriter, used to invite us to the Craven meeting at his summer house. It was magic. Lester Piggott was there, Pat Edry was there, Stevie Cawthon, and the champagne and caviar was out. I want a bit of this, I remember saying to myself. And we go to all the Newmarket meetings. Then there was Ascot, then there was Monday nights at Windsor, the glorious Goodwood. It's just magic, and it's not just about having a bet. It's going down, watch them work in the mornings in the summer when there was no football training. At 5 o'clock, you used to get out of bed, get in the car, go down, first light. Absolutely stunning. Clive Britton used to look after us. And I just love the people, real nice people. It is the sport of kings and queens, but at the same time, when you get the bug, it's hard to get rid of, and I love it.
Cool. Alan Brazil sells it well there, doesn't he? I mean, the vote is now open. Head to the talkSPORT dugout. What is your favourite second sport? What is the nation's second sport? Sam's back with us. Sam, what do you reckon? What's your second favourite sport?
Well, it varies a lot, to be honest, Max, but I would probably put golf in there at the moment, I think. With with the way that it's all going, I think it's, all the majors are so dramatic. The Ryder Cup, we've got that to look forward to. I mean, there's plenty of second sports to choose from, isn't there? But I would probably put golf. What about you?
Fair play. It used to be cricket. That's now a third behind rugby. I've really got the rugby bug last couple of years, particularly being at talkSPORT, working with Alfie Rugby Reynolds. I'd say international rugby at this point. I'm captivated by the Lions tour. I think there's great characters in there. So for me, it's rugby at the minute.
Yeah, very good. But there's loads to choose from. So go to the dugout and you can have a little look at that and cast your vote. And perhaps our presenters might be able to influence you as to their way of thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be ready for that.
Very good. Should we do some front pages?
Yeah, let's look at the front pages, mate. What we got?
It's a front page throwdown.
Oh, what a move!
The front pages first on the early sports breakfast. talkSPORT.
Lots of red and yellow on the front pages this morning. Tributes to Hulk Hogan, who sadly passed away at the age of 71. It seems he suffered a cardiac arrest, found dead in his Florida mansion. But of course, incredible Hulk, front page of the Star. He's all over the front pages. Hulk Hogan dead at 71 on the front page of the Mirror. We would normally make this a light spot, and we'll keep it fairly light with this conversation. Hulk Hogan dead at 71, as I say, on the Mirror. He's also on most of the papers this morning, and that I think says a lot about Hulk Hogan, because when you talk about wrestling, normally people would absolutely turn their nose up at it and sort of mock and deride. But I think everybody around the world, for the most part, would have heard of Hulk Hogan, right? I mean, he is the one that transcended.
Yeah, I actually met Hulk Hogan.
Did you?
Yeah, I went out to Florida where my mate was living at the time. He's still over in America, but he's moved to Washington, and he took me to Hulk Hogan's bar called Hulk's Hangout.
Oh, yeah.
Or Hogan's Hangout. And let me tell you, the people there, he lived out in Clearwater, absolutely love him. And I went, it was a karaoke night with, about 0.01% beer, but it didn't matter because Hulk Hogan was there. I shook his hand, firm handshake. I then, after plenty of those 0.01% beers, ended up paying about $100 for a Hulk Hogan hoodie, which shrunk after its first time in the wash, and then sang Shania Twain, Man, I Feel Like a Woman.
I mean, that sounds like an epic story, I have to say.
It was a great evening and an absolute pleasure to meet the big man, someone that I think has been credited with wrestling going professional.
Absolutely. Do you think the reason your hoodie shrunk is so that you could rip it off you when you had to put it on eventually? Because that's Hulk Hogan's famous scene, isn't it?
I ain't got the biceps or the strength to be able to do that, mate.
Not going to be doing that. Yeah, he was also a movie star, wasn't he? He was in the Rocky films. He was in things like Mr. Nanny back in the day as well. People might remember that. Everyone's got a sort of Hulk Hogan story. He came into this building once upon a time. Actually, I say this building. It wasn't this building. It was the old talkSPORT Towers, just before my days. I can't imagine a bloke that big walking into that tiny little office. So he must have looking at himself, what have I got myself into here? Unbelievable stuff. But yeah, so sad news. Hulk Hogan dead at 71. Loads of tributes to be paid to him throughout the week, or throughout the day, I should say, on talkSPORT. As I say, he's all over the front pages. Now, I had only planned to talk to you about Hulk Hogan, but we've got a bit of extra time here, so I'm going to find you a quick other story. Just fill the gap for a second, Max. Tell us what's coming up on the station.
Well, what's coming? I mean, it's going to be a blockbuster live weekend of sport, isn't it? We've got the Lions Saturday morning. Shabana Hearn, who isn't here this morning, is going to be presenting that from the studio with all the boys out there in Australia. And then we got the Lionesses. Can they do it? Can Serena Wieben get one back on the Spanish? They didn't look very good against Germany, I must say, and I reckon they'll be feeling very confident about that. So,
thank you very much. Now, humans could actually all be aliens after boffins discovered the building blocks of life may have begun in outer space. Astronomers found signs of molecules that are believed to have given birth to life on Earth billions of years ago in a planet-forming disk. The team used an international astronomy facility in Chile and discovered 17 complex organic molecules such as amino acids in the dust disk of a distant star. Now, do you think humans are actually all aliens?
Well, in a way we are. I reckon there'll be some life out there somewhere that if they've got their eyes on us, they'll be like, who are these aliens?
Well, that's it. To other planets, we are aliens, aren't we?
Exactly.
That's the thing. That's the thing, way to see it. Are you a believer in life on other planets, Ben?
I mean, it's got to be the case, mate, yeah. But I'm not all about these conspiracies about UFOs and flying discs and stuff. I think it's all sort of video-generated AI nonsense. Yeah.
I saw a UFO once.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
You'd had a few too many bevs, mate.
No, I saw it. Now, obviously, that doesn't necessarily mean it was aliens, because UFO just means unidentified flying object. I didn't know what it was, but it was very strange. It was like a silver kind of bullet shape, which sounds a little bit suspicious, I know. But it's like a big silver bullet.
Were you in a gunfight?
And, no. And I was in a field, and I hadn't taken any substances, just to be clear, but I think the people around me might have done.
Okay.
All right? So it might have been that I had some fumes, potentially.
High on somebody else's supply.
Possibly. But it flew over, and it brought the cloud with it. Now, that's a bit weird, isn't it?
That is a little bit weird,
It's a bit weird, that.
It is.
So
Maybe
if someone can explain to me what's going on there, then I'd appreciate it.
The text will be full of the conspiracy theories. Get them in. We want to hear your stories. Right, you're listening to the Early Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT. Up next, we'll look ahead to that massive weekend of live sport on talkSPORT with the Lions and the Lionesses both facing monumental matches.
$10K for Coldplay.
Yeah, this is the Early Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT. I'm Max Scott. Alan and Gabby are on the way for talkSPORT Breakfast at 6 a.m. Now, Coldplay are back at Wembley this summer, and we've got a huge VIP prize up for grabs for one lucky listener. We're giving you a chance to win 6 tickets in a private box for you and your mates on August the 22nd with full hospitality. Plus, we're chucking in 10 grand spending money completely tax-free. Here is how to enter. 18 plus UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word WIN to 83338 by the 4th of August at 11 p.m. and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission, or post your name and number to Coldplay Competition, PO Box 3190, Colchester CO2 8GP, to arrive by 5 p.m. on the 7th of August. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion run on talkSPORT Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full T's and C's at talksport.com. Right, we are moving on now, because can the Lionesses retain their European Championship title? This Sunday evening they face Spain with a chance to do just that. The game will be live, of course, on talkSPORT for you. It's been an epic journey so far.
Forced to Kelly inside the box, and she pokes it home off the goalkeeper. And
live for these moments as a little girl, so that little girl today enjoyed every moment of that.
Now time for another summer of unforgettable moments.
This is a new moment, and before every tournament you experience a different thing.
And Jiman! 2-2!
That's what we feel when we put the shirt on. It's that we give everything, we run ourselves into the ground.
Holmberg, it's over! England are in the semi-final!
No, we don't make it easy, but we definitely put on a show for everyone watching.
Kelly, save! Kelly there again, it's in! England 2, Italy 1. This is just extraordinary. Tanner, oh, she scored! Bergabee never near post! Alex Tanner finds a way!
I think England, I'd actually prefer to go up against Spain than I would Germany.
But it's the world champion Spain, who are one game away from European glory. But England's Lionesses will have something to say about that.
Ooh, it's going to be an absolute belter Sunday evening live on talkSPORT. And ahead of that game, striker Alessia Russo told us that they're expecting the toughest possible test from Spain.
The journeys for both of us to get here were really tough. I mean, we started playing France, Holland, Wales, and then obviously we've had to play Sweden and Italy, and they were all so different and so tough. So I think we had to be so ready in order to make it to the final and prepared. And yeah, like you've seen, we've won in so many different ways this tournament, and I think that's shown a lot of resilience about us. And same with Spain, they've had to play some tough teams, and obviously Germany are a top side who have been through a lot this tournament as well. So I think it could have gone any way for all of us, but yeah, it's great to be in the final and playing against a team like Spain.
Yeah, Alessia Russo's bang on the money. It's the toughest test. It's the world champions. It's Spain who've done one over on England in a women's final before in the World Cup, of course. Look, until I watched that Spain-Germany game, I was desperate for Spain to get knocked out by Germany. But I watched Spain and they just looked a little bit off it. Again, they'll have 1 day's less rest. They had to go to extra time like England. And I've got a little more confidence going into that. But tell you one thing, and I don't think it's going to happen because Sarina Wiegman is very like Gareth Southgate in that she doesn't like making changes. I think you've got to start Chloe Kelly. I don't think it'll happen, but you've got to start Chloe Kelly. She is a cult hero, a cult icon with game-changing abilities. And because England have been so poor in the past couple of games, most of the games really, other than that Netherlands game, you'd expect them to beat Wales. I'd just like to see some changes, but as I say, I don't think it's going to happen. But having said this, even talkSPORT's resident pessimist Simon Jordan thinks the Lionesses are going to do it.
Yeah, I think England have got a real chance in this final because I think, despite the fact that I think they've been poor, and they were poor against the Italians, and the Italians have to look at themselves and think, how did we let that one get away from us? One quality ball in the second half, funnily enough, produces a goal. The two girls that come on, Chloe Kelly's done well in both games, and so has Michelle. I think that in a high tide, boats rise, and I think England will rise to the opposition. And I've got a sneaking feeling that because they've been poor, with the notable exception of a game against the Dutch, that they might sneak out a victory in this game against the backdrop of the Spanish being everyone's favourites.
Yeah, look, I'm feeling what Simon Jordan's saying, particularly after watching that other semi-final. I really think the girls can do it because Sarina Wiegman, it's just what she does. It might not have been pretty so far this tournament, but she knows how to win tournaments. And I'm starting to feel a little bit more confident heading into Sunday. But what about the view from the inside? Here's talkSPORT's Angelina Kelly with her video diary from Switzerland.
I am here right outside the Lionesses Hotel overlooking the beautiful city of Zurich. And this is off the back of England's win over Italy. I must say, I don't think my nerves have actually recovered. And speaking to fans, they were feeling exactly the same. But they always believed that a goal was coming from the Lionesses. And that's just exactly what it's been about in this tournament. They have that great escape and they never, ever, ever want to give up. But speaking to fans as well about people like Chloe Kelly, Michelle Adjiman, if maybe they should be starting. However, in Sarina they trust and they fully believe that them being effective coming off the bench is going to be key to facing Spain. I actually watched the Spain-Germany game and I must say, Aitana Bonmati, there's a reason why she is a Ballon d'Or winner and it's going to be very, very important for England to find a way to stop her. Players like Alexia Putellas, Mariana Caldente maybe weren't at their best, but even still, you cannot underestimate them. And there's a feeling that the Lionesses and the England fans really want a little little bit of revenge after that World Cup heartache, and they want to be able to get the job done. And of course, not just win the Euros, but win the Euros on foreign soil, something that has never been done before. And when you look at the quality of this Lioness team, you really believe that they've got it in them. But like I say, the fans have been absolutely amazing. Going to basically any game that they can go to be part of this European tournament, which has been amazing so far.
Yeah, our very own Angelina Kelly live, well, not live, but speaking from Switzerland ahead of that Lionesses versus Spain Sunday night on talkSPORT, with all the build-up from 4 and kick-off at 5 p.m. And of course, talkSPORT's your pride of live sport, as well as the Lionesses. Tomorrow it's a massive day for the Lions. They can secure a series win down under with a victory over Australia. Andy Farrell's side were relatively comfortable last weekend, but this time around the Wallabies mean business. Can they secure a series win? You can find out live on talkSPORT.
Pride of Lions. From misty pubs and muddy boots, they flew with banter, stakes and suits.
Here we go, test match series up and running. The Lions kick off.
The Lions, bold, a touring band, to point red streaks on Aussie land.
Tuipolotu will glide into the right-hand side.
1 minute scrums, the next to sing. A pride that jokes but fears nothing.
We are taking them boys to the Hurt Arena this weekend.
The Wallabies are putting it up. Jorgensen will take it out to the air, and Jorgensen scores in the right corner.
To win this series, you had to win 2 games, and that's what we're going to go and do next week.
Scottish Grant and Leinster Soul, a Cockney jab and Valley's roll. 4 nations, one very wild crew, with dreams stretched deep in red, gold, white, green and dark blue.
The British and Irish Lions win 2 games to 1 with a remarkable performance in Sydney.
Came as men from different shores to go into test war. Let's hear the Red Sea roll.
Yeah, it's the big one, that series clincher in front of 100,000 at the MCG, and head coach Farrell is looking to create history on Saturday.
We're the privileged ones that get the opportunity to do something special and hopefully create a bit of history. There's a determined Australian side that's in our way that's going to try and stop us to do that, so it's a hell of a test.
Yeah, that's Australia versus the Lions in the second test live tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. on talkSPORT. And of course, we'll react to all the sport from this weekend on Monday's early breakfast show. Right, here's what's coming up on talkSPORT Breakfast today. Alan Brazil is back alongside Gabby Ogbonlahor. Former Newcastle striker Mickey Quinn will discuss Alexander Isak's future. England cricket legend Steve Harmy Harmison will look back on the second day of the 4th test between England and India. They're in the driving seat there. Wrestling journalist Pat Lennon will pay tribute to the legend, the icon that is Hulk Hogan, following his death at the age of 71. England correspondent Courtney Sweetman-Kirk will look ahead to the Euros final this Sunday, and Wallabies legend Matt Giteau will preview the second test between Australia and the Lions. You've been listening to The Early Breakfast with Adrian Flux, insurance for the individual. Find out more at adrianflux.co.uk, but do not go anywhere, because up next it's talkSPORT Breakfast with the legend that is Alan Brazil and Gabby Ogbonlahor.